Hey guys, it's Sam and this is Top 5 Wednesday. Top 5 Wednesday is created by Lainey of Ginger is Lainey. I will leave her channel as well as a Goodreads group down below for topics and such. This week's topic is our top 5 biggest book hangovers, and I don't typically speaking get in giant book hangovers like some people do. I can typically pick up other books right after and still be having a lot of emotions about the other book, but typically I can get through it. These are books that I had to sit with them a little more and I felt like I was a little more in crisis after reading them. Number 5 is Malachi by Ellen Bernert. I have done a full review on this, which I will link on the screen, and this one I got so attached to the characters, and that is what caused my biggest book hangover with this. I think that's pretty much true of all of the books I'm going to mention here actually, but it was just, I had been with these characters through so much because you follow, especially the main character, throughout her entire lifetime, so you feel like you've spent that time with them, and so when you're removed from them and you don't know what they're doing, you feel at a loss. And that is exactly what happened with this, is I needed to know what was happening with them. I've been with them for so long, they're a part of my soul now. How am I supposed to go on not knowing what their daily activities? That was the issue with this. Number 4 is Ignite Me by Tahira Mafi, and this is because I marathon read the entire series. Really, I marathon read the entire last 2 books because I read Shatter Me and then took a break, I think for a little bit, like a couple days, and was reading something else, and then I read Unravel Me and Ignite Me back to back within 24 hours for each book. I think Ignite Me I read in one sitting. So the hangover was just the fact that I was ingesting this at such a fast rate and then I was left with nothing, and I was like, how do I go on after this? Because these books are like crack to me. They are just so addictive and I just had to keep reading. They're just kind of like fluffy candy. They're just like sweet, you know, not nutritious, but really addictive food for me. And so after this, when I was just left on my own without an epilogue or anything like that, I was very devastated. Number 3 is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This is another one I have a full review for, which I will link on the screen, but this is one that was so fast-paced and that kept me on the edge of my seat throughout the entire book, not knowing what was going to happen and not knowing what twist was coming for me, that when I was done, I just was emotionally exhausted. I was still thinking about these characters. This is another one that the characters I was so invested in and I love so much. I love the protagonist in here so much. So I wanted more from her, and I knew this was a standalone, and I knew we're not going to get anything else from this story, and I just wanted to know what was going on in her life, especially just the end. I just wanted to know what happened from there. I just need more just fluff from them, and I don't have that, and it makes me sad. Number 2 is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 3rd book in the Grisha trilogy, and having marathon read all the books with Sarah Jane and the Book Life and Kristen from Cafe 9X a year ago, after we finished this last book, we were just like, what do we do with our lives now? Like, we had this whole discussion about everything with the whole series, and I still can't. I don't know how to move on from this series. The whole Grishaverse in general with the Grisha trilogy and now the Six of Crows duology, like, it is everything to me and I'm still so wrapped up in it. And this book left me with a huge book hangover because I love Alina Starkov, the protagonist of this series, like nothing else. She is probably the epitome of my favorite character in YA. She's really close with a lot of other people, like with like 5 of my favorite females, basically. So I just have a lot of feelings about her, and I had to immediately run to Tumblr and find like little one-shot fan fictions because I couldn't handle not having more from her and her story. And it still hurts me. There's still things that I feel like are canon in my head of things that I've read about like fan fictions after the series because I can't cope with the fact that I'm not getting more in Leah's perspective. Like, I actually can't cope with that. It hurts me way too much. And number 1 is The Winner's Crime by Marie Rutkowski. I have a review for this as well, but this book left me in utter devastation when I read it about a year ago, and I still don't even know what to do about this. I want to reread this book before the last book comes out, but I don't know if I will because of how emotionally exhausted I was after reading this. It's so good, and it's one of my favorite sequels of all time. It's wonderfully written and it's so good, but the characters go through so much and the things that happen, it's one of those books that bad things happen and you don't get the resolution to them in this book. You know, it's a sequel and there's going to be another book, so you don't get resolutions and you think you're going to and you don't, and it hurts so bad. And I was in a book hangover for a while after this. I actually got in a reading slump after reading this because I just couldn't deal with anything else. I needed to know what was happening with them, and I knew I wasn't going to get it for at least a year, and I didn't know what to do. So will I reread this book? I don't know. It's so well done, but I'm thinking about, like, can you see the horror passing through my eyes? I'm thinking about rereading this and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do it emotionally. I really don't. So we'll see what happens. But this one is definitely my most horrible book hangover. I couldn't deal. I got into reading slump for I think a couple weeks. I think it was like 3 weeks or so, which is my longest reading slump really ever, where I haven't been able to snap out of it. Yeah, this book, man, the feels are so real. Alright guys, that is it for my top 5 worst book hangovers. Comment down below and let me know some of the books that put you into a horrible book hangover. So thank you all for watching and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!